Hi, my name is Brent. I'm the Product and Application Trainer with Festool North America. In this video, I want to go over the usage and the setup of the parallel guides along with our TSC 55. This will allow you to get repeatable, reliable, parallel cuts more efficiently. So the first step we need to do in this process is get rid of this factory edge. To do that, we're going to utilize our FS 3000 or 118-inch guide rail and our TSC 55. Those two combined will give me a nice, clean, straight edge to reference off of. If you need to know more about setting up the TSC or the TS 55, you can visit the Festool USA YouTube channel to find out more information. There's two ways you can buy the parallel guides. You have the parallel guides, parallel guide extensions, and then you can buy them as a set. We're going to start with the parallel guides. First thing I'm going to do with the parallel guide is attach it to the guide rail. This bracket slides on the back groove, and then there's a little tab here that slides in the middle. Then once that's on there, I'll just tighten down the knob up top first and the lever underneath. And when I'm setting up my parallel guides, I always want to make sure that I've got space on one side or the other. That way when I'm moving the parallel guide and the guide rail, it doesn't bind up on my material. Before I get started on my cuts, I want to do a very important step where I calibrate my parallel guides to my guide rail. I've already attached a new splinter guard onto my guide rail, made a fresh clean cut with my TS55. Now I just want to make sure that where my stops are set, it equals to the measurement that I put on the board that I want to cut. So I've made my mark at 380 millimeters because that's the first piece that I'm going to cut. I've set my stop at 380 millimeters. If I slide it forward, you can see that a splinter guard covers my pencil line. I actually want it to be right there, so I need to adjust this bracket to match that pencil mark. So the final step in the calibration, I just need to loosen this knob, loosen the lever underneath, then with a large flathead screwdriver, break that loose, get my splinter guard right where I want it to be, and then that allows me to move this bracket, keeping that stop where I left it, right where I need it there. Tighten down the knob, the lever, and don't forget to tighten up the flathead screw on top. Now I'll repeat the process on this side. Once I've done that, that'll verify that this stop is calibrated to this guide rail. So no matter where I set this measurement, it's exactly what I want from that splinter guard to that stop. All right, so with both sides calibrated, I can be certain that if I set this stop to the same number as that stop, I'll have a perfectly parallel cut over and over and over again. Another question I get a lot is what these two brass screws are for. A lot of people think they're to square up the parallel guides to the guide rail. That's not it at all. The only thing that this parallel guide set will do is give me perfectly parallel cuts. We'll worry about squaring up the ends later down the road. What these are for is, let's imagine you're in a cabinet shop and you've got a dedicated guide rail, a dedicated saw. That's all you do with that, is do specific rips over and over and over again. You never use it for anything else. What I can do is tighten these two screws down. That'll pinch the back rib of this guide rail. That just gives me a little more security and locks it down even better, so I don't have to worry about it moving over time. Last thing I do before I go to make my cut is, without the saw on the rail, I'll come to the middle and just give a little push right in the middle to make sure both those stops are engaged on the edge of my material. And then I'm ready to cut. So now that I have one cut, I can just slide this out of the way, take my first off cut, and using the STM 1800 that we just came out with, this gives me a lot of extra space. to store my materials. I can slide this back, push it into place, and make my next cut. So with that last large piece cut, I can move that out of the way and make space for cutting some smaller rips with the parallel guide extensions. So with the parallel guides set up as they are, I can cut material from 25.5 inches down to about 7 3/4 inches. If I need to cut anything less, that's where I have to add the parallel guides extensions. To do that though, I need to reference from this side of my guide rail, so I'm gonna have to flip the whole guide rail around really quick. And then we can add the extensions to the parallel guides. To install the extensions is fairly simple. I'll just flip the guide rail over and the parallel guides over. And the extensions come with the thumb screw. They just nest right in there, put the thumb screw in, snug it up, you're ready to go. So now we'll just repeat the process on the other side. So now with the extensions on, I just need to flip my stops over to the side that the extensions are on. But because I'm doing that, I'm also changing which side I'm referencing my measurement off of. Before I was referencing off the piece of the material that I was going to keep, or the piece that was underneath the guide rail. Now I'm referencing off the piece that is not underneath the guide rail. So now I have to account for the thickness of the curve of the blade. And to do that, it's very simple to calibrate these to the blade itself. To do the calibration on the extensions, it's very simple. I just need to account for 2.2 millimeters, or the thickness of the curve of our blade. To do that, I'm actually going to use the blade itself. First thing I need to do is just set these stops to exactly 0. And then I'll move them to match the width of that blade. All right, to calibrate the extensions, I'll bring the saw over. I've done a couple things already. I've taken the splinter guard off, and I've also removed the batteries. So now I can put it into blade change position. Lower that down into place, lock my blade in, and I'll just bring it over till the carbide of my blade, see, it's actually hitting that stop. Well, I want it to slide just by that stop. So I need to adjust this just like I did on the parallel guides, just by loosening these hex nuts. Once those are loose, it gives me some slop. That stays at perfect 0, but now I can find carbide of my teeth, not the plate steel, but the carbide. Push that stop up against there, lock that into place. You can hear it just rubbing, which is exactly what I want it to do. All right. Always be sure when you calibrate to calibrate the parallel guide extensions last and the parallel guides first, because the extensions rely on the calibration of the parallel guides because it's all one solid piece. So now I've got it set to cut 50 millimeter or about 2-inch wide pieces. The process is the same as before with the larger pieces. Now I can just store this on the unused part of my STM, slide my guide rail over, and make another cut. So those are some of the basics on how to set up and use the parallel guides and the parallel guide extensions. Now, even though they can be sold separately, I highly recommend buying them as a set. When you buy them as a set, the parallel guide extensions help to balance out the parallel guides. If I didn't have the parallel guide extension on there, this would just want to tip back. So with the extensions on, it's nice and even. So in my opinion, the parallel guide and the parallel guide extensions is the top accessory for the TSC, the TS55, or the TS75, because it has a smaller footprint than a table saw with an infeed and outfeed table. It's more accurate, it's more efficient, and it gets the job done quicker. So if you have any questions about any of the products I used here today, head over to our Festool USA YouTube channel to check out more videos like this.